Well, a nail-biter of an election has left markets whipsawed while bonds and the dollar rose. And in the end, it was too close to call. To find out what this all means and how the next few days will look like here in Asia, we're joined by Suan Teck Kin. He is head of research at UOB. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Suan. The final results are not out yet, and that could take, days or even weeks. Will these uncertainties affect businesses in Singapore and around the region?
Right. At this point, I think the result is still not known. There's certainly a lot of uncertainty, but for businesses, I think for companies, especially dealing with, trade with the U.S., let's say counterparts, let's say export of goods and things like that, I think they have to be a bit more careful with that because with the next president, or is it going to be the same president for the next 4 years, or is it going to be the next president? So there's something to think about, especially if, let's say, Trump continues with this 4 years. That he's the way he deals with China. For instance, if goods are originate from China, there might be some issue in terms of tariff and things like that. So for businesses, they should pay attention to this sort of issue as well, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and also, economic recovery is top of the minds of most countries because of COVID-19. So, how can the conclusion of these elections spell better prospects for, this side of the world?
Right. It depends on who is going to be in charge for the next 4 years. So, let's say if the COVID-19 obviously is a main issue here in terms of lives and also livelihoods. So if President Trump continues for 4 years, we know that how he deals with COVID-19 is going to be different. For instance, if there is another president who is in place over the next 4 years. So in terms of dealing with COVID-19, the current president, we saw over the past 6 months, 9 months, how he has been dealing with it. The situation hasn't been very pretty in the U.S. So for the next 4 years, we all boils down to who is going to be in charge, and that will, I think, determines how not just businesses, and also I think some of these business sectors, for instance, tourism for one, and also for trade as well, exporters, importers. There will be some implications for us, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and finally, just your quick take on this one. Who is going to be in charge? That's right. How should Asian economies position themselves for the long haul when it comes to U.S.-China relations?
Right, I think it's very important. This is a very important question, Elizabeth, in terms of U.S. and China relations. Depends on who is going to be in charge, right, for the next 4 years. So if the current president continues for the next 4 years, I think companies, businesses have to be ready for a bit more tense situation going forward, because obviously I think the people in the US decide, let's say Trump is going to be in power, that they agree with his way of dealing with, for instance, trade relations or technology. So companies will have to be ready for a bit more difficulty ahead. In terms of that. And also the other thing I would want to bring up as well, Elizabeth, is that if Trump continues for the next 4 years, we know how he deals with, how he has been dealing with the COVID-19 situation in the US. So that mode of operation, that pattern is likely to continue. And that would have implication on tourism sector as well, because if the situation continues to be the same way or even worse, I think it's very hard for Singapore to open its borders, or any country to open its borders totally if the situation is not, COVID situation is not under control in other countries, Elizabeth.
All right. Thanks so much, Suan Teck Kin there from UOB.